Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration, so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining Smart Women Talk. I'm Katana Abbott. I am very excited today because I get a chance to finally interview best-selling author and founder and president of Yes to Success Seminar. Her name is Debra Poneman, and we're going to talk about how to take your power back. What's preventing you from living in your power, why women tend to compromise themselves more than men, and steps you can take beginning today to live the life you were meant to live. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about Debra. She's a best-selling author and founder of Yes to Success. She's been doing this for 4 decades. And she has a phenomenal program that I've actually attended, and it was really life-changing. She's taught hundreds of thousands around the world how to live lives, not only of success and abundance, but true happiness in profound self-love. Welcome, Debra.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this.
Debra, I want you to share your story because it's really remarkable. You must have been a baby when you started this program.
You said I was a baby. I was teaching meditation for 10 years before I started Yes to Success. At the end of the decade of the 70s, I realized that woman does not live by mantra alone. and that I probably needed to make some money. And how I started Yes to Success was that I was living in a meditation community in Fairfield, Iowa. And I realized that I had to go do something really to make a few bucks because it was a nonprofit and I loved what I was doing. I was actually the director of admissions at the time of Maharishi International University. But again, I needed health insurance. I needed car insurance, maybe even a car to insure. So I thought, okay, where do people make a lot of money? I thought, Los Angeles. So I packed my bags and I went, hey, that's what it looked like on the TV, although I never watched TV. But anyway, so I go to Los Angeles and I thought, how do people make money? They sell investments. So I got a job with a friend who had an investment firm. It was not my deal at all. I believed in failure. I would say I was a failure, but I believe that every seeming failure is just a way to learn what not to do next time. And I know what not to do next time. Don't sell investments because if you're Debra Poneman. But anyway, there's that expression, you make plans and God laughs. My plan was to make a whole lot of money selling investments and go back and teach meditation full time. But one day, somebody invited me to a money seminar, and I thought it was going to be on stocks and bonds. But when I walked in, and this is in the 1980s, the guy was talking about the law of attraction. This was like 30 some years before, 40 years, I guess, maybe 30 years before The Secret came out. And he was saying that whatever your dominant thought is, like no matter what your financial situation is, if you are always talking about how poor you are and you're never going to get out of debt and the economy is so horrible and, I'll always be poor and my parents were poor, you are going to draw poor into your life. The guy said that if it's like a tuning fork is vibrating at an F sharp, it cannot draw in a B flat. So if you are vibrating poverty, you cannot draw in prosperity. And he told us no matter what your financial situation is, you have to start talking about the great financial times to come and the success that you're going to have to come and paint those word pictures and you'll start vibrating that. He said, even go down to Beverly Hills and walk down the street and look at the Rollses and Bentleys and the Mercedes and the big houses and say, and that's for me. And see yourself in those houses. And I thought, you know what I did? I actually went, and I was so broke. All I'd been doing for my entire adult life was teaching meditation and just barely being able to make ends meet. I went to the Mercedes dealership and I got a picture of the Mercedes that I wanted. And I put it up on my bulletin board. Anyway, long story short, I came home from that event and it just struck me. That's why I came to LA, because I was supposed to go to that event. And I'm supposed to be teaching this because I already knew how to teach people how to create inner silence through meditation. But now I found out that there is a systematic way to create outer success. And I thought, wow, now I could teach people the whole package. And so I quit my job the next day. Oh, you quit your job. Remember, I hadn't sold one investment, but I quit my job the next day. And I started studying the great masters of success and prosperity, Napoleon Hill and Wallace Wattles and Florence Scovel Shinn and Earl Nightingale. And I put together a fabulous weekend seminar, called it Yes to Success, launched it. And there are a lot of other details, like I used what I was learning to create my success. For example, I learned that you don't wait until you think you're ready, because you will never think you're ready. Because we live in a relative universe, there are always going to be loose ends. You can't say, oh, I'll start my company when the kids are grown, or when the kids start school, or when the divorce goes through, or I get the inheritance, or my hair turns green. No, if you have an idea, the idea comes to you. I say it's a gift from the creator, because the creator looks down and sees you as a worthy vehicle for manifesting that idea on earth at this time. So the creator obviously chose me to teach these principles of inner and outer success. So who was I to deny my assignment on the planet? And also, the idea comes to you at the time when the wind is at your back, the time when the creation needs your idea to work. We're all pieces of the puzzle, and your piece is needed at the time that the idea comes to you. And if you don't take action on it, do it that minute, but you got to start taking steps in the right direction, then the idea is going to go to the second stringer, because the creator needs it manifested on earth. So I learned all those principles from the great masters. I didn't make them up. I studied. I went to the library and I took out the microfiche, and I found all of the, do you know what microfiche is? You're too young.
You're being very nice.
So you remember microfiche, we didn't have the internet.
Yeah.
We didn't, we had to go and really dig and find this stuff. But anyway, I used all of those principles. What is sacred should be kept secret. I didn't go around telling everybody what I was going to do, because all the great masters said you have to keep the steam in the kettle. And if you tell everybody what you're going to do, you're letting the steam out of the kettle. And also, you might bump up against the discouragement committee, those people who are going to tell you all the reasons why your idea won't work, who are going to crush your idea when it's a tiny seed. Why would you tell everybody what you're going to do when your seed can be crushed, when the discouragement committee could tell you all the reasons why your idea won't work? So I kept what was sacred, my idea to teach Yes to Success. What was sacred, I kept secret until I was ready to launch. And then I did. I put up some posters. Debra, my name wasn't Poneman at the time, it was Olson. I've had a few. And anyways, Debra Olson to teach how to say yes to success. And then the rest is history. Within the next few years, my seminars were being taught all over the world by reps, and I was teaching in 12 major cities in the US. And within 3 years, I was driving a Mercedes, even though when I started, I was driving a 10-year-old beat up Chevy Bel Air that my aunt had left me when she passed away. God bless her, Aunt Flo. And not only was I driving the Mercedes, I was driving the exact Mercedes that I had put the picture up. The mind is a powerful thing to create reality. And I didn't go out and buy that Mercedes. The quick story is that I also got married, and somebody was doing one of those drive-away car things and stopped in the town that I was living in and called my husband and asked if he wanted to buy it. And he called me, said, honey, do you want a Mercedes? And I said, what color is it? Because I wanted the navy blue one that was in my picture. He says, navy blue. I said, oh, okay, I'll take it.
There's magic to it, but there's also practical things. I always like to combine the spiritual with the practical.
Yeah. And that's like Johnny Asaraf's story, that he had made a vision board and then he just put it away in his garage. And decades later, I think he said 15 years later, he moved and he was going through some stuff and he pulled out his vision board and he didn't remember putting a picture of a house on the beach, and I think it was Malibu, and he looked and he was living in that house. It cut it out from a magazine like 15 years before. Vision boards, it may seem like just a fun little parlor game. Oh, let's get together and create a vision board. Very powerful.
Yeah.
You mentioned your year of miracles and our wonderful Marcy Shimoff, when you know the story about how Marcy, who Marcy and I are the founders of your Year of Miracles, although I'm not teaching with her anymore because I went back to my first love, which is teaching Yes to Success. But when Marcy first took Yes to Success in the early 1980s, and she actually became my secretary assistant, and a good secretary she was. But her favorite thing out of 2.5 days of teaching Yes to Success principles was cancel. Like you say a negative. And then also her other favorite thing is when you see something that somebody else has that you want, instead of begrudging them, oh, why did they have that? They're such a jerk, and blah, 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 you just say, that's for me. So that's what I did when I saw people in Mercedes. See, I grew up to think, I was taught that rich people were bad. That's what I was taught when I was growing up, very subtly, but I was taught that rich people were bad and they were crooks. So I found myself looking at people who were driving Mercedes and thinking, oh, well, that's a bad person, or that's a crook. And I went, cancel. Yes. That's for me.
And today we're here to talk about this idea of shining and standing in our true power. What is your definition of someone who's standing in their true power, their personal power?
Okay, it's not a short answer. You'll notice none of my answers are short answer. As I said, most of my adult life, I've spent teaching seminars on how to create true and lasting success. And the majority of the people who I've worked with from all over the world for the last 40 years have had some success in their life. In fact, they've had some real successes, and some people are super achievers and are very successful in the eyes of the world. But as powerful as people appear on the outside, Katana, and you know this, for many, it's not how they feel on the inside. No. On the inside, there is still an emptiness, maybe even like a real gnawing emptiness. And many people believe that when they made their money, or they had the recognition, or they bought the beautiful home, or they became a princess, that somehow life would be perfect and that emptiness would somehow vanish. And yet when they walked into that new home or down the aisle of Westminster Abbey, it was like walking into one of those houses on a Hollywood movie set. The emptiness was still there on the other side. The new house, or the Tesla, or even, the best-selling book or the Nobel Prize does not take the emptiness away. The gift of this time on our planet is that we're seeing the fragility of life, and we're asking ourselves, what is really important? And we're wanting to live a different kind of success and a new kind of power. And to me, that's the kind of power that comes from being aligned with your own truth. It's the kind that comes from having your inner match your outer. It's the kind that comes from knowing what your real purpose is for being here and following the voice that urges you to do it. It's the kind of power that comes from having integrity, from not saying one thing and being another. That's true power. Because I'll tell you something else, and you know this. Lots of times we think success is based on what other people think about us, but it's really based on what we think about ourselves. And even if we fool everybody into thinking life is good and I'm this and I'm all that, if you know you're not all that, is what zaps your power, takes your happiness away. But it
affects our health, doesn't it, Debra?
Absolutely affects everything about your life.
And our joy. So many of us that are afraid to stand in our personal power. What do you think it is? Do you think it's just limiting beliefs, or what is going on that we're afraid?
There are so many reasons. But, we now live at a time where the only way to create true success and deep fulfillment and genuine happiness and real power, as I said before, it's to go inside, and it's to tap the greatest power we have as humans. And that's the power of self-knowledge and self-love, and a deep sense of our own value, no matter how much we gain or lose on the outside. But unfortunately, we've been conditioned to look outside ourselves for validation, right? So we are incessantly comparing ourselves to others. And that's one of the things that takes our power away, especially now with social media. But what people don't understand, it's Mark Twain once said that comparison is the death of joy. And research has shown that comparing ourselves to people we think are better than us fosters not only a lack of self-love, but can even lead to like depression. And the truth is that when you're comparing yourself to someone, it's like those airbrush models on the cover of the magazines. Oh, yeah. What you're seeing is, it's like on social media. People only share the part of their lives that they want to reveal. It's not the truth. Mm-hmm. It is like the airbrush covers on the covers of the airbrush models on the covers of the magazine. That isn't what they really look like. Mm-hmm. But we lose our power when we think that we'll never be that beautiful. We'll never be that happy. That's why we're always shocked when we hear about the suicide of the beaming celebrity who seemed to have it all, or the beaming mom down the street with the perfect kids. Best-selling author.
They're just the children themselves this is happening to. It's just so devastating.
Because we believe what we see on social media. We believe that those people's lives are perfect. And best-selling author Steve Furtick, I don't know if you know him, but I love his writing. He said the reason we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. And it's funny because as a speaker, we make our highlight reel. We have had those times where we have fallen on our faces when we've given a talk. We have times, a friend of mine had a time like in the middle of one of her talk to 1,000 people, she had to run out of the room because she had diarrhea. We don't put that up. We put our highlight reel and we got the standing ovation. And then people think, oh, I can't become a speaker because look at them. That's 1 minute of thousands of hours. So right. we also compare ourselves. This is really sad, to people we see as less than ourselves because it gives us a boost. We take pleasure in someone else's lack or weakness or misfortune, or my kids got more awards than your kids, or my kid went to Harvard and yours went to junior college. But there is always going to be a backlash when you have that kind of thinking, because the wheel of karma turns, and then we end up feeling a greater emptiness than ever before. So here's what I teach. Okay. If you have to compare yourself to yourself, and that's the only way you're going to have true power.
So how do we do that?
I'll tell you how. How have I improved myself since last year? Okay. What new risks have I been willing to take these days? What negative behavior have I let go of? How have I increased the acts of kindness? How have I been more vulnerable and less from the ego? So what we do, a lot of people, they put, like we do miracles journal, and your miracles, or people do their success journal. I say, make a journal of all the ways that you've improved yourself. How, like you said earlier, that from taking my course, Yes to Success, that people have even commented on you. Write down those ways that you've changed. That's what really boosts your ego, not reveling in someone else's misfortune, because then the wheel of karma is going to come back and smack you. Mm-hmm. But when we compare ourselves with someone else, it's not only a waste of time, but you know what? You weren't born to be them. You were born to be you. I love the story of the great 18th century Kabbalist, Rabbi Zusha. I'm always quoting from Kabbalah. And he said, when I go to heaven, God will not ask me, why were you not more like Moses? Why were you not more like Abraham? God will only ask me, why were you not more like Zusha? All we have to do is be authentically ourselves. And you are going to start to have so much self-love.
The things that I noticed too, women really seem to handle power differently than men. And why is that? There is such a difference in how women and men stand in their power. And it has to be how we were raised. And maybe part of it is just who we are as women.
You hit the nail on the head. The reason why we acquiesce, we're contrite, we're apologetic is because we watched our moms and the female role models. I was a child of the 50s and 60s. My mom was the quintessential housewife. And even though she was valedictorian of high school class, even though her mom died when she was 9 and she had to raise her little brother. But she went to work after school and worked until midnight and blah, 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 blah. And still she was a housewife. And there's nothing wrong with being a housewife, let me tell you, because you know my story. I actually gave up my career to be home with my kids for 21 years. But I am glad you asked that question, because I would love to share with our listeners some things that they can do to own more of their power in this still male dominated glass ceiling society in which we live. Can I share some things?
Absolutely. That'd be great. I think it's time to take some notes too.
Okay. There's an article in Forbes about 10 years ago and that I love to quote from. They listed ways that we can stop being so accommodating. Mm-hmm. And start growing in our power. And they said that there were things that we could do on the outside. And if we did these things on the outside, it would actually affect inner changes. They also said if we did these things, it would make a big difference in the way we're perceived. So by ourselves and also by other people. And one was, okay, drum roll, please. Get rid of the word just. I'm going to give you an example. Oh, I'm just checking in to see. No, I'm checking in to see.
Wow.
And I'll give you some more words. I just want you to know. I want you to know. And there is a survey or some research that was done that women say just as a qualifier 500 times more. I don't remember the number, so I won't pretend that I do. More than men say, I want you to know. Women say, I just want you to know. Men say, I called because. Women say, I just called because. Okay. Impact of eliminating that one word. So let's make it, I don't even know if there's a chat. Let's make the commitment. We get rid of the word just. And I did it and it was scary because it's crazy how just taking out that.
Okay. So how about with email versus speaking? How does it show up? Right?
No,
it's just in all the time. Just be polite.
Yeah, polite. Yeah, polite and
apologizing.
Right. Okay. So there's more. There was also an article in the Harvard Business Review about replacing weak, meaningless words with stronger ones. I think the author's name was a while ago. I read it, Jerry something Wiseman, something like that. And he talked about how a simple word replacement can change the power of a communication. He said, instead of saying, I think and I believe, we should opt for stronger options like I'm confident that. Instead of, well, I believe that this would really work. I'm confident that this will really work.
Belief is a strong word, but apparently not as strong as
belief.
I know this will work. And what was the other you said?
No is a little bit different because you don't really know, but I'm confident that this, or I'll give you an example. Instead of, I feel like that would happen, we might want to say, I expect that could happen. I feel like that could happen is a weaker word than I expect that could happen. So just little replacements can make a difference in how our message is perceived. Now, like you say, we don't want to be bullies. Okay. We don't want to be right at all costs. We don't want to be like the boss and the devil wears Prada, but we also want to stop wimping around. And another thing we tend to do as women is we tend to consistently apologize, even when it's not necessary. Have you noticed that men don't do that? If they do, they're perceived as weak. Saying you're sorry unnecessarily puts you in a subservient position. So watch when you apologize. And I'd say eliminate the phrase, I apologize during this talk I gave today, but, oh, I'm so sorry. Were you busy? I'm so sorry. oh, I'm sorry. Was that out of place? I'm sorry. Just stop it.
Yeah.
You can even say, oh, did I speak out of place? I'm so sorry. Did I speak out of place? It sounds sexist, but it is a female thing. We were raised to be that way. And many of us in the workplace have experienced one more thing, and that is letting people take credit for your ideas. I actually have a solution. I have something that people could try on, see if it works.
Really? Good. Okay. Let's have it.
So you bring up a point in a meeting and you're ignored. Nobody notices. Later, someone else, more often than not, a man, will repeat your thought and people will applaud his great idea. See, when you stay silent and you let others take credit for your ideas, bam, you just give your power away. So I say, take back the credit. And here's how you do it. You say, thank you, John, for bringing up that idea that I proposed earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And he can't lie and say, no, you didn't, because he knows for a fact that he heard it from you. But again, it's powerful. Thank you, John, for bringing up that idea that I proposed earlier. Perhaps people didn't hear when I said it. You could even say that, or you don't even need to. A few little things that we can start out with. Our language, not apologizing. Don't let other people take credit for your ideas. And anyway.
And let's
power. I was going to talk also about the need of women to be liked. Just, okay, bottom line to that, forget about it. It's not going to get you anywhere. That women thing, that likability thing. I think that once we begin to live with a profound connection to our power within, then what I love about it, then we're not afraid to share power with others. We don't feel threatened by other people's success. In fact, we rejoice in it. And one of the ways to develop that power within is to start rejoicing in other people's success, even if you don't feel it yet. Yeah. Like, I'm a speaker. If I see somebody get a gig that I would have liked, instead of so happy, and find something good about the speech that they give and tell other people how great their speaking is. Truthfully, because what you're going to find is that when you're able to do that for others, then that's when people are going to respect you, and you will effortlessly have influence and support, and not only from others, but from all the energies of the universe. And that's the new kind of power.
Oh, that is just so beautiful. I want everyone for being here.
Thank you for Smart Woman Talk Radio and all of the Smart Woman, all of the material and all of the other courses. It is such a gift, and you're a gift.
Thank you so much. For those who want to come join us, it's joinsmartwomen.com. And until our next show, go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album, When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.